All right, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Team deathmatch.
Enemy contact.
It's too close. Fight harder. We've taken the lead. We tied for the lead. We lost the lead. It's too close. Fight harder. We've taken the lead.
Need backup. Changing mag. Target's inside.
Drone deployed.
I got shot. Changing mag. Cover me. Contact with enemy!
Online.
Enemy contact! Reloading! Cover me!
Predator missile inbound. Objective almost complete. Keep it up. Hunter-killer drone deployed.
Enemy contact! Changing mag, cover me.
UAV online.
I'm down. Target's in sight! I got shot!
Nice work. Well done. Team deathmatch.
Enemy contact! I'm down!
Lost the lead. We tied for the lead. We've taken the lead.
I'm down! Need backup! Targets in sight! Reloading! Cover me! Grenade out! Targets in sight! I'm hurt! Reloading! Cover me! Reloading!
UAV online.
Enemy in sight! Changing mag. I'm down!
Package awaiting orders. Ready to jam enemy UAV. Missile awaiting orders. Care package inbound. Counter UAV up. They're blind. Friendly Predator missile inbound. SAM turret ready for deployment. Enemy UAV spotted.
Contact with enemy. Cover me. Contact with enemy. Changing mag!
Package on standby.
Hello, Bacon.
Enemy contact!
Mission accomplished. Good work.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Not too much of a big player on here. Let's get a game going. What's going on, everybody? Another day, another game. Let's play some Call of Duty. This is a new game for me. Add me up. What's going on, everybody? Another day, another game. Let's play some Call of Duty. This is a new game for me. Add me up. around with your bitch. I'm fucking around with your bitch. Thank you so much.
What? Is this light blinking?
Why does that work?
What?
Her weird noises.
What?
Like I knew what you meant.
She's like, all the rappers are doing it.
Really?
That's how I heard it, bitch.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not a boomer, you know.
Squirtle.
When he used to be frustrated. I fucking around with him. Alright, who wants to get drunk? Who wants to have a drink?
No.
Jen's not gonna be drunk tonight. She's only having a drink. My hip flexors.
Okay, I'll have one.
Okay.
But that's it. He's like, I don't know this one. Let me make sure I don't have a flashlight. He like turned as he said. That's exactly what he did. It's a camera. Why you walking towards me? Walk towards me. He's like, oh, hands a little slippery over there, right?
Is that Jen?
Hands a little slippery over there. Oh, you did you better light it than that. Oh. Stop. It's freaking cold in here.
No, it's not.
I'm putting it on low. The lighting. Looks like a hole. Like just a hole. Ew. That's scary. His pose. Should get my hat. You're gonna say look for the camera? Like looking at the paper. I'm not my paper. You're getting paid next month, you said? I'm getting good paycheck. Oh, nice. You're gonna get more hours. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
Ben.
Yes.
Ben.
Oh, I love
Ben.
you say Ben? Ben?
Benny Ben. Yes, it's good.
It's
It's-
Brandy?
Brandy, and it's cheap as fuck.
That's actually not bad.
No. It brings up the Coke, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What's up, babe?
Someone said no PUBG.
Yeah, that's Ben.
Bacon Kush. You just said that right now.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh.
I wonder if they can hear me. Maybe they can. Discord. Hey, can you hear me? Bacon is great. Bacon is good. Bacon is great. Bacon is good. Come in.
I can hear you.
Holy shit. This whole time my microphone was on. I'm over here talking massive smack about bacon. Bacon, did you hear anything bad that I said about you?
Can we do these now?
Jen, can you hold on? Bacon, I'm being rushed to do something else. I'll see you later.
I'm not rushing
I have to go. I have to go. I'll stay on here. Look, I'll put a movie on for you or something.
Ow! He's hurting me.
No, I'm not.
Help!
Ow!
Ah, Ed, stop!
Ow! You hurt my feelings. He said I hurt his feelings. Oh, okay, man. Yeah, I probably won't be able to play you there.
Oh, you can say bye
I have to go make food, though.
Run some private matches.
Yo, we got the OG Cash in the house. What up, ABG?
What's up, Kush? What's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. Just drinking that brandy, getting some coke in.
Oh, hell yeah. Good, good, good.
I'm
Hey,
doing it
what
right.
we about to do?
More focused on this.
We're going to start a room.
All right.
No.
Play some gun games. So I
Oh.
can
Apparently
get
he's
you
not an object.
All right, cool. This is your guy right here. His name's Six.
Yeah.
Six is your guy too, I think.
Yeah, CJ, I think one of them, I think they're going to start the room, so I'll make sure I get you in.
All right, cool, man. We'll see you later. I actually have to make some food too, so I'll be back though, OJ.
Yeah, send me
I'm gonna.
get back.
Are you on Instagram or
CJ's
Discord?
I'm on IG.
IG? What's your IG? So I can send you a message and then I don't miss out on that room.
I got you. Hold on. I got to put it. I don't have an app on my phone. I got to put it.
Oh, all good, dude. All good. Yeah, fuck the app. Babe,
Yeah, I do everything.
Oh,
by
try
website.
it. That's so weird.
it works.
Okay.
All right, cool. So mine is the Cash Crop. So just THE Cash Crop. And add me up there.
Or wait, what's that? Can you look me up right now?
Yeah.
All right.
That's weird.
It's sourced SOURCED. Sourced SOURCED.
Mhm.
Underscore
That's adorable.
kitchen. Kitchen. Just like a kitchen. KITCHEN. And I do cooking, but I'll message you right now. And, yeah, just keep me up to date, man. I want to do a room. Those are fun.
You don't have any followers or nothing?
I have like 80 followers. All right then. So what was yours again?
You have like, I'm just making sure everything is yours. Right?
Oh.
I think I see you. Oh yeah. Cooking with time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then I'll follow back. I'll message you later, man, when I'm done eating. See ya.
All right. Yeah,
Pe-
we're gonna have a food conversation later too, bro.
Oh, we're gonna. You know it, man. Always. All right, Cash. Late. That's cool.
the keeping of the people. The powers vested in the governing body functioning with the consent
state of survival. Play now.
Hi, this is Brian Forrester of HiddenIncaTours.com, and today is a very special video. This is the brilliant artist Marcia K. Moore of the United States, and she is going to do facial reconstruction of this Paracas skull called Cinnamon that died about 2,000 years ago. So she starts out by doing computer imaging of it in 3D, and of course the work in the beginning is kind of crude and simplistic, but then she starts to layer it.
Versace.
Cinnamon was a Paracas woman who died at the age of about 16, 2,000 years ago. And this is Marcia's computer image of what she thinks that Cinnamon looked like, with variations in terms of hairstyle. We know that Cinnamon probably had dark reddish hair, which is typical of the Paracas royalty. And here she's experimenting with jewelry, and here even basing it on people who had elongated heads about 100 years ago. So that is the computer work that she has done. And now, here is a casting of a true Paracas skull. Again, this is Cinnamon. And now she's starting to build up from the casting itself, fleshing it out in 3D. You can see she's put eyeballs in. And gradually, layer upon layer, Cinnamon comes back to life. She hasn't quite finished it yet, but she is at the final stages of completing Cinnamon. Again, the addition of more layers, muscle tissue, and now working on the finer details. And here is where she is at in February 2018. If you'd like a copy of the DNA results of the Paracas testing, that can be obtained through LA at lamarzulli.net.
So how was your week?
Go on, just tell him what you did.
What? It was a dungeon run. I can't do it solo.
Right.
Versace.
Right. And it had to be her?
Well, hey,
Sir Gullet.
ow, hey, take it up with my Claire. I don't pick the teams, right?
Use your words, please.
Then yeah, it had to be her. Ow, she's crazy good in that dungeon. Hey, whoa.
Sir Gullet, put down that axe.
Raid. Fight together. Together.
I just like good quality stuff.
Yeah.
Versace.
Okay, so hello everybody. I can't see any of you. I don't know if there's 3 people. I don't think there are, or 100, but hopefully. Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. So this is kind of a summary of kind of some extreme research and traveling and other things that I've been doing around the world over the last couple of years. Now, you can see from the image here, we're looking at ancient cultures, we're looking at the origins of the megalith builders, but today we're going to be looking at some things that are often overlooked, but they're all interconnected. They're all connected in one way or another. Everything you see here, all these strange items on the menu for today's lecture. We're going to start off by looking at some strange worldwide connections from a geodetic point of view, i.e. looking at earth grids and ley lines, and some new discoveries that have been made in that realm. And then look at some of the amazing rock carvings which seem to match all around the planet, going back into deep antiquity, even to about 12,000 years old. We're looking at the mysterious polygonal walls, the carved geometric stone spheres of Scotland and the large spheres of Costa Rica, pyramids that are being discovered all over the world, even in Europe, such as in Sardinia and Greece, as well as the extremely strange elongated skull people that are famous for the area of Paracas, and one of the experts on the elongated skulls has just walked in, Scotty Skinner over there, and how they're related to the giants and the serpent symbolism we find all over the planet. I'm going to do a brief outline of the Denisovans. These are a strange group of people who lived between 50,000 and 120,000 years ago in Siberia. But they're an advanced culture, and this is completely rewriting the origins of humanity. But again, they are the origin point, potentially, of almost everything we're looking at here today. So here's just a few images we're going to sort of get through. But first of all, I want to sort of focus a little bit on secret codes of ancient sites. This is something I've been researching for a very long time. I wrote a book called Earth Grids back in 2008, but since then more has come to light. These are some examples. Nothing, it may not make sense just yet, but as we go through the talk, we'll see how these connect with other places and other cultures. On the bottom left there, this is a site called Newark Earthworks in Ohio. And Ohio is famous for all the geometric earthworks and Serpent Mound and other sites. But the interesting thing, the orientation of this particular site, which is absolutely huge, it's about 1 kilometre long, this part we're looking at. If you draw a line through its orientation and continue it around the world, 6,000 miles, it directly hits the pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza. Now this shouldn't happen. Here just shows you a close-up of some of the huge earthworks, which conveniently has been turned into a golf course, so it's all rather confusing. And here again you can see more of a close-up of what we're looking at here. And some earthworks that are similar to this are not only found in Britain, but they're also found along the Amazon River, all down Brazil and Bolivia and other countries that the Amazon travels through. And here's some that have been discovered since the forests have been cleared. So although there's sort of extreme damage going on to the rainforest, while they're clearing it, they're discovering evidence of a lost civilization. This could be the lost city of Zed that various explorers were looking at in the early 1900s. We find other geodetic connections. This is a very strange one. This is Newgrange in Ireland and Giza again, the Great Pyramid. If you draw a line between them and measure it, it's exactly 1/10 of the circumference of the planet. So if you continue this 10 times around the planet, it joins up again exactly. Now this can't be a coincidence. We also find numbers to do with distances and days of the year interconnected in Egypt, and we can see this example here between Aswan Quarry, where the unfinished obelisk is, and Giza. It's 365.4 nautical miles. And nautical miles are what the Egyptians used to measure the Earth, and it's the exact way that the Earth has actually been measured when it comes to using degrees, minutes and seconds. We find this is an interesting one which we're going to look at in more detail later, the significance of these naval sites, they're called. If you draw a line between Göbekli Tepe, which we're going to look at shortly, in southeast Turkey, which now dates to 12,000 years old, and the Coricancha in Peru, which is the center of the ancient Inca world, both of these are called the navel, or called the center, called the axis mundi of their particular cultures. And the exact distance is 7,928 miles along the surface of the Earth. And this jumped out when I saw this, because this is the equatorial, or the diameter of the Earth, measured between two ancient cultures, the centers of their cultures. And also it's a canonical unit of measure which was used in prehistory and history, which puts it as 7,920 miles. And that breaks down, this is people like John Michel have been researching this, 8 times 9 times 10 times 11 equals 7,920. So we're finding these strange links with the location of sites, the geodesy between the sites. Even we find the same kind of thing with Giza again, which is 1/7 of the 3/7 of the way around the planet. If we see this image here, you can see it's exactly 30 degrees above the equator, but you can see that some other strange things happen with the number 7. It's 1/7 of the way around the planet from the equator is Avebury. We have the same principles at Luxor here, and 360 degrees divided by 7, the number that comes out is the exact latitude of where it sits. So it's a very bizarre system we keep finding within these sites. This is one I just found. This is like a ley line which I've discovered very recently. There's a site called the Nap of Howard, which I don't know if you were at Nicholas Cope's lecture yesterday. Any of you at that? Yeah, he talked a lot about the Nap of Howard. I went to visit there very recently. I was there the same time Nick was there actually, and it dates to around 3,700, 3,600 BC. If you draw a line from that to Stonehenge, it goes directly through Avebury, West Kennet Long Barrow and Stonehenge, exactly through the centre of all of them. Now this, you know, if you try anywhere else on Orkney, it doesn't work. It only works from the Nap of Howard. It could be a meridian. Yes, that's a good question, because this could be the original meridian of the planet. So they could have been working with that, and things have shifted. This could be the magnetic north. But it does fluctuate slightly, so back in that 5,500 years ago, this could have been it indeed. I need to do more research on this. This just shows you an aerial shot I took of the Nap of Howard, just to give you its location next to the sea. It didn't, when it was built, it wasn't next to the sea, it was next to a lake. And it was amazing. It's basically the earliest habitation site in Britain. But also it's within 100 years of West Kennet Long Barrow being built, and then Avebury was built, then about 500 to 1,000 years later Stonehenge was built. So there's this sequence along these particular lines. To me it looks like two massive giant footprints in the ground marking the beginning of the line. And as you know from, if you weren't at Nicholas Cope's talk, you'll know that the origins of the geometry, the megalithic yard, an incredible system called the Golden Section, was first found here, and he noted all this within this site, suggesting this is where it came from, i.e. Orkney, or the islands around Orkney, and not the classical Greeks and other cultures that we believe they were from. There's other examples, other strange examples, looking quite similar to that. We find this was it's been destroyed now mostly, but this is a massive earthwork site in a place called Portsmouth in Ohio in America, and you can see these huge avenues and passages that are carved into the ground are almost exactly, oh, this is permanently on now, exactly, so this is the one in Portsmouth, Ohio, and this is Avebury Stone Circle, how it used to look. You can see an almost direct, even with the circular area here and here, matching exactly on the landscape, although about 6 or 7 times bigger, that we have in Avebury. Is this a coincidence, or is it some kind of symbology and sort of building technique that the ancients were working with? Now we've seen that the Nap of Howard is one of the oldest sites on the planet, but even earlier than that, the earliest, until 1996, the earliest known freestanding temple on the planet was Gigantia in Malta, which is this site here, which is a huge kind of circular megalithic structure standing on bedrock with 30 to 50 ton blocks making up its structure. There's also a dolmen now fallen called the Sansuna dolmen. There's a tradition in Malta of a goddess called Sansuna who would stride across the landscape dropping stones on the way. And she dropped the stones at Gigantia to create this. She dropped a stone at Sansuna dolmen, that's her name, and also continued down into Malta, this area here. And there's a site called Bugiba Temple here. And this is an exact alignment between Gigantia here, Sansuna, and Bugiba Temple. Now this is just another ley line, another coincidence in the landscape. But when we start looking into what was going on these islands, then we find that they had incredibly sophisticated megalithic technology building here, which we'll see other examples around the world that are very similar. These intricate relief spiral carvings. This is Stuart Mason, I'm not sure if any of you know him. And these are some massive elongated loaf-type skulls that were discovered in Malta, which have been deliberately hidden from the public view, so no one can see these now. Again, this is the serpent symbolism we find carved at Gigantia Temple, which is remarkably similar to what we see at Göbekli Tepe, which now takes the prize as the oldest freestanding temple on Earth. We'll see other examples. This is, again, left we have Gigantia, right we have Göbekli Tepe from southeast Turkey. And we see the shapes of the stones. We have whole stones at both these sites, relief carvings, and similar shapes and sizes. But really, Göbekli Tepe is really changing history as we speak. The site is actually currently closed. You can't even visit the site. They're building a new roof on it, unfortunately. But I went back there first in September 2013. I've been back 3 times since then, mainly with Andrew Collins. Also, Graham Hancock came on one of our tours. But you can see the beautiful stonework here. And this was constructed around potentially up to 14,000 years ago, according to some of the last research done by Klaus Schmidt before he died. And it was completely buried 2,500 years later with hundreds of thousands of tons of rubble. So basically the site was used for a couple of 3,000 years. And they were building over different temples. There's like about 30 or 40 temples within this, 30 circular enclosures like this. And then they were buried in mounds, then built upon, and another temple would be built on top of it, over and over again, until they had this huge complex, which eventually was then completely reconstructed, every single temple, and then completely covered up, like a time capsule, and left in the earth, and was not discovered until the mid-1990s by Klaus Schmidt. Here's some of the intricate stonework we find at Göbekli Tepe. We can see these beautiful relief carvings. This is one piece of stone. This is like about 20 feet tall. And we have this amazing 3D carvings of these critters, and again, kind of like lizards or other creatures, carved onto these upright stones. The other things we find on these stones is animal features where the hands are touching the navel, which we'll have a look at in more detail shortly. But we also find the same kind of shape in Peru. This is a site called a Marumuru, which basically some people claim is a stargate. It's like a doorway to nowhere. And apparently there's a tunnel here. This is next to Lake Titicaca, and it goes all the way to Cusco and other areas, apparently. And you can see the same shape is present, but carved out of the rock rather than actually being 3D rocks. And we go here every year when we do our tours there in November. We have this is on Menorca, Balearic Islands, and we get the same style, the T-shaped pillars, all over the island. There's about 30 different examples, but these are from the Bronze Age, only about 1500 BC. However, all these different areas seem to have connections with the bull and the bull cults, which is one of the things we find across the planet going into very deep antiquity, some magical cult that was worked with for many, many thousands of years. So the idea of world navals is something that various researchers have been doing. It's kind of fascinated me, especially when you find discoveries like this, both Göbekli Tepe and the Coricancha in Peru, which are both the center parts of their ancient cultures. Both mean navel or belly hill, or like the center, and everything comes out from there. And the thing is, you always find statues with the hands going towards the belly button, which is like a representation of the Earth's navel, the center. So we find this in Costa Rica, in Maya lands, and also this was found near Göbekli Tepe at a similar site. And this is one of the oldest human statues on the planet. It's at least 10,000 years old. It's called Earth a Man. I've got a little video about that up on YouTube, which you can check out. And again, we find the same thing on Easter Island. You can see the hands here, or Rapa Nui, which is the traditional name. And these are huge statues, some of these. We find similar things here, where it seems to be holding something. This is at Tiwanaku in Bolivia. And on Easter Island, again, we find the same top knots, the kind of red kind of turban type things they used to wear, have also been found in Colombia. And you can see that example here. And this is Sulawesi. Sorry, let me just get this correct. This is more from San Augustine in Colombia, the last photo you saw. And you can see they have these hands going towards the navel and all their statues. Now this dates to at least 3000 or 2000 BC, between the two. And this is Sulawesi in Indonesia. This is more phallic, it's holding something else here. But we find often they're pointing towards their navel and their parts. More examples from Sulawesi here, and you can see the beautiful the carvings here, the way they've cut this from solid rock, even representation of an elongated skull in this image here. This is in Indonesia on one of the islands, and you can see various examples here all in one image. So we have Earth a Man, Tiwanaku. This is actually from Japan. This is Göbekli Tepe. This is the main pillars at Göbekli Tepe. They have the hands come into the navel, and they have this amazing belt with like serpents, the letter H, the letter U. What does that spell? And from and again, examples of broken moai on Easter Island. I love these belts, very space age. And this is from Kurdistan, the one on the right, and it's almost exactly, you get this V-neck thing, something we find in various places around the world. It's like a style spec, it's almost Star Trek, isn't it? But we think there's some ceremonial robes they wear, and it's almost like what the Freemasons wear today, so they may have been influenced by these ancient statues and cultures that were being found. This is near the Coricancha, and you can see these beautiful relief carvings all over the city, all over Cusco. Literally the whole town is a megalithic city built of these polygonal precision carved blocks. And we find exactly the same symbolism 12,000 years ago at least at Göbekli Tepe in southeast Turkey. On the left here, this is Tiwanaku in Bolivia. We have this kind of turban wearing chap wearing what looks like sunglasses, and we have the same kind of style statue heads found again at Göbekli Tepe. We're going to see more similarities as we move through the lecture. One of the things we find at Göbekli Tepe, which is the earliest site in the world to have this, is a strange phenomenon of hold stones and cut marks, which it doesn't sound like that interesting to start with, but when you start looking at the orientation of some of these holes in solid rock and these cut marks, originally people thought the cut mark phenomenon was just a British affair. All over Cornwall and Scotland and Ireland, there's cut marks carved into all these megalithic sites. No one has a clue what they're used for. Although some people believe they were to manipulate and work with the telluric currents and earth energies at these sites that occur naturally all over the place. But they've been found everywhere. This is at Tiwanaku in Bolivia. This is at Göbekli Tepe. This is where one of the great pillars would stand. This is again Easter Island. We have examples all over the bedrock. Even on top of the pillars, we have this at Göbekli Tepe, and no one has a clue why they're there. And hold stones are a whole other thing. There's a whole tradition called Shane Lock, a scene lock, where it's got like a soul hole, as Andrew Collins calls it, where he believes that the burials were placed inside these chambers, these dolmens, and the soul would pass through the hole and out into the night sky, into the Milky Way, where it would rejoin with the cosmos. And you get the same thing at Göbekli Tepe. The orientation is always towards the Milky Way and Sagittarius and Scorpio, which is the dark rift of the Milky Way. These were also found at Göbekli Tepe. This strange, almost looks like a kind of a lifesaver ring you have on ships, doesn't it? Made out of solid rock. And we have these strange things as well, these bizarre animal carvings. Obviously the most famous hold stone is Menantol in Cornwall. This was originally, they believe now, part of a stone circle. And this was part of one of the stones as it went round the circle. We even have a version of this in New Hampshire in America. And that's northeast America, the whole of New England and New York, is a megalithic area. There's hundreds of megaliths, chambers. There's even a stone circle there. And no one knows about these, but they're there. There's similar hold stones even in Mexico. This is a place called Cholula, which is southeast of Mexico City. It's actually the world's largest pyramid. No one even realizes this. It's by far the largest pyramid in the world. You can see the sheer scale of it. This is how it originally looked. And this is one of the stones, beautifully cut square hole in it, with like a mortise and tenon joint like we find at Stonehenge. Now another anomaly I keep coming across, the more I travel, the more I research, is this idea of like 3D carvings, like relief carvings you find at Göbekli Tepe and many other sites around the world. This compels me because it's such a difficult thing to do. You have to have like a huge piece of rock, then carve away and make sure you leave the part there you want to be read and to be looked at. And so it's really difficult to do, and you can see they were doing this 12 to 14,000 years ago at Göbekli Tepe in southeast Turkey. And this is remarkable because officially only hunter-gatherers were in existence at this time. These are some other carvings. We see the H repeated at Pumapunku, which is the site next to Tiwanaku in Bolivia, which they believe could be much, much older. And again, it could even be the same age as Göbekli Tepe, as there are so many similarities between Peru, Bolivia, and Göbekli Tepe in southeast Turkey. there's more examples here of how similar they are. This is at Silastani. These are all actually at Silastani. These are all relief carvings, but just note the different styles here. A beetle. And this is the Cotimbo in Peru, not far from Silastani. And again, we have these beautiful relief carvings here of serpents and other things. We have a 3D kind of critter here, carved out of solid granite, and other pumas, serpents, and other such things. And then, this is Göbekli Tepe, yeah? This is Silastani. Look, it's almost exactly the same thing at these two areas, thousands of miles apart from each other. This is Göbekli Tepe. This is actually Costa Rica, where the stone spheres were found. And this is Silastani again, different examples from Peru. We even have 3D examples. This is Göbekli Tepe, of an emerging kind of baby coming from the stomach. We have this in Costa Rica, and we have this coming out the stones at Cotimbo in Peru. And more examples here in Peru. But Costa Rica, we find there's over 300 of these megalithic stone spheres, which are huge, have been found across the country, which date back to the prehistoric times. No one knows who carved them, and again, you're carving it out from a solid chunk of rock and somehow leaving a sphere. I mean, try doing that on a weekend. It's remarkable. And then you have these brilliant 3D carvings carved out of solid volcanic basalt all the way around this board, which was a burial board which bodies were placed on before they were buried. We have perfect kind of serpents carved on the back of a head. This is from a place called Navali Churi. This is near Göbekli Tepe. It's been completely destroyed now, but they've reconstructed the entire site in the museum in Sanliurfa in southeast Turkey, which you can visit. And again, we have the serpents here in Peru. This is Cuzco. And so this is very interesting because this suggests a Vedic connection with southeast Turkey going back 12,000 years, because it's known that Vedic culture have representations of serpents on the back of their head. Waru, this is a place in Peru along the Sacred Valley, and we find the same thing here. We find amazing serpent carvings, not dissimilar to other ones we've been looking at. And even here, this is from Navali Churi in southeast Turkey. This is from Rapa Nui. This is one of the platforms where the great Moai, or Easter Island statues, are standing up on. So we have this incredible symbolism we find in different areas of the world. This one on the left here, this is from Easter Island, and it's called the Quizo seated or kneeling position, which is found it's like a spiritual meditation position apparently. This is from Tiwanaku. There's two examples here of, again, the kneeling position, the Quizo position, which are like 3,000 miles away from each other across the Pacific Ocean. We even find evidence of giants on Easter Island, which no one really knows about, but there's records of 8-foot giants living on Easter Island that are fair-skinned and red-haired, which is a phenomenon which we'll come on to later. Also at many of these sites around the world, we find what's called the keystone cuts. Now these are weird. These are like a construction technique where they would carve these sort of keystone shapes, these things here, out of solid rock and place molten metal in it to hold the stones together. And you can see how many examples from different cultures around the prehistoric world we're dealing with here. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see Ethiopia, Greece, Bolivia. This is Tiwanaku. Egypt, various temples in Egypt. Even in France we find examples. Cambodia, all over Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom. Romania, even Italy. I've personally seen a lot of these examples myself. Tunisia, again, this is Cuzco. Turkey, Bolivia, this is Tiwanaku again. Greece, the list goes on. So how did this technique just emerge at different cultures at different times around the planet? Again, we just see this is an example of the metal that was found at Tiwanaku, and it's a very strange way of making. They have to heat the metal up to an extremely high degree, much more than the ancients should have known how to, but somehow they did it. And they're using types of metal that come from Europe and the Middle East mixed within this alloy. So that proves there's a connection with different parts of the world. And we find other strange connections which I've been looking into recently, and I've been looking in museums. I've visited Australia to check this out myself, but there's a direct connection with ancient Egypt and Australia. Now these are from These are actually from Australia. These are boomerangs, or whatever you want to call them. These ones, on the other hand, where do you think this was photographed? Any ideas? Yeah, Egypt, obviously, but any ideas where they were found? Okay, this was found at a place called Aswan, and this is where the megalithic quarry is. And it's completely mind-blowing that you get exactly the same things. And these are called throwing sticks. And recently, just a few days ago, I went to the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford and found more examples here. Now, this is made out of kind of rock, and you can see the carvings around the edge of it. And again, it's a ceremonial throwing stick, whatever that is. Again, you can see another view of it here. So what are these doing in Egypt? How did this technology emerge? Also at a place called Gosford, south of Sydney, we have these carvings that are found all over these walls, hidden within this landscape. And people have dismissed these as a hoax, but because they're quite crude, some of them. But this one here is particularly interesting. There's a few others which show classic Egyptian symbolism, but it's been noted that these were known about in the early 1900s, and someone went to the huge effort, if they were hoax, to create these. Now, there's been some analysis by serious Egyptologists on this, and they found that this was a certain old or sort of Middle Kingdom culture that actually used this particular style of writing. This is almost like notes on walls rather than intricate stonework like we see in Egypt itself. There's also a site that's called the Gympie Pyramid, which is in Queensland. This is not all that's left of it. There's just a few stone walls, etc., around there now. But it's said that these stones here were taken to the local town from the pyramid and placed around what's now the church. It's my buddy Stuart Mason, and you can see it's like polygonal stones. And this is the people I was sort of working on this with. But you get the same kind of polygonal stonework, obviously, in ancient Egypt. This is actually one of the pyramids. This is the smallest pyramid on the Giza Plateau, which is cased in solid granite. And it's perfectly cut stones are placed together like this.
Like, you know how you're
Now, there's another phenomenon which has kind of caught my attention is these mysterious cart ruts. They're like, basically, they're like carved into solid rock, and there's usually two of them, as though they're made with carts, or nowadays with cars, and they're like, and they go around curves, but they stay together. There's always two of them together, going around all these different distances. And these are the famous ones, mainly in Malta and Gozo. But they've also been found in Turkey and Spain and even Bolivia. And no one has a clue what these were used for. These are ones photographed on Gozo. This is from Malta and actually go into the water there, suggesting a very deep antiquity. More recently, I was in Sardinia and I found an amazing example there that literally go on for acres and acres of land with a megalithic temple carved out of solid rock. And this just shows you some examples here, but this is just to give you the sense of scale. You can see all the way down here, this whole landscape here where it's green, this is cart ruts all over this. Now these are carved into solid rock, really perfectly straight, some of them. They go around, they go together, you see in twos, when they take corners, so they go in twos together. This whole area, you've got a whole load here, you've got areas up here with temples carved out of solid rock with bull head carvings in them. And it just completely blew my mind how much of this there is around the world, but there's no explanation for them whatsoever. Yet the amount of work it would have taken to carve just a few meters of one of these out of solid bedrock is quite stunning, and more research really needs to be done on this. You see it just goes crazy down here. You can't really see the thickness of them, but they're very deep cut. And this site here is completely ignored in northern Sardinia. No one knows about it. We had to research it and get the GPS of this, very difficult to find. This is from Spain. Again, these are very deep cut ruts carved into this random part of the landscape. This again is from Spain, from the same site, and we see these kind of steps as well that are carved.
10,000.
These are, potentially tens of thousands of years old. This is in Turkey. And again, these are just carved, again, out of solid bedrock. These ones are actually in France, at a place called Anse-de-Croix. And it's said there, the tradition, they were worn by wagons carrying building stone from the quarries to the water's edge. And from there, it is shipped across the bay to build the walls of various places. And they date these ones to 600 BC, but no one actually knows. These are from actually a place called Tlaxcala in Mexico. These ones are from East India. And the list goes on. There are more examples in Mallorca, which I'm going to next week, which I'm going to investigate while I'm there. Other Balearic Islands and other places around the world. But no one to this day, there's been some serious research done on this in Malta. And again, no one can explain them, because if it's some kind of cart and you're moving it across rock, you're not going to indent it like this. Even if it's made of metal, if they're metal wheels. There's one researcher who's like a Russian scientist who put an academic paper out 3 or 4 years ago, who claimed that these are millions of years old, and these were carved into the bedrock when it was slightly soft and molten. And so these are potentially millions of years old, and people were driving about in vehicles. And this is an academic paper by a Russian scientist. So this stunned me when that came out, and it was taken seriously, and it still is. So one of the other aspects that keeps intriguing me is these spirals we find carved all around the planet at megalithic sites. This is just some examples here. This is from, obviously, Newgrange in Ireland is some of the most famous. Here we have Newgrange as well. We have some of the stone spheres found in Aberdeenshire. We're going to look at those more closely, have them. This is Targshin in Malta. And other areas around the world seem to have this intricate spiral carvings. Again, Newgrange. This is actually from Cambridgeshire, a recent discovery which dates back to the late Neolithic. This is Little Meg stone circle up in Cumbria. This is in Sardinia. Again, we have spirals all over this particular rock, which is part of a massive temple carved into solid black granite. We have red paint painted on inside megalithic burial sites in Sardinia. Even in Mexico, we find examples of this massive circular pyramid called Cuicuilco, and this goes back to potentially 7,000 years, the oldest pyramid in the Americas. We even find examples at Tiwanaku and Pumapunku in Bolivia. This is a beautiful piece of work, and it's got representations of thunder and lightning and serpents and even a frog in the middle there. This is how Tiwanaku used to look. It had 99 stones, massive megaliths in a rectangle, and here we find all these intricate spiral carvings all over some of the rocks, but always at Tiwanaku they were on internal walls, so you can never see them. So they were like signatures of the builders. It just shows you more detail of some of these, and these have been dated to at least several thousand years old. You can see, it's difficult to see because of the light when it was photographed. Chinchero in Peru is another massive megalithic temple site with massive polygonal walls. We find beautiful spiral carvings all over the site, which would have been hidden from public view when it was originally constructed. A place called Huaki, which is it's called Viracocha's Mountain. And Viracocha was the great serpent god of the Andes. We found this very controversial baby skeleton with an elongated skull. But all over this area they found these carvings. We found deformed skulls, relief carvings, and this very, very strange skeleton, which is definitely authentic. It's been tested by various scientists and proven that this person, whoever it was born with an elongated skull. We have other examples. These are from Silistani. Again, this is where the beautiful relief carvings are. There's also elongated skull people are found there. And again in Sardinia. And one of the places these spirals are frequently found on are the 420 of these megalithic stone spheres, which are you can fit them in your hand, were found all across northern Scotland, Orkney, a couple of examples in England. These are the ones you can see only two of them are on display actually went there recently at the Ashmolean Museum. But some of them are so precisely carved they represent the 5 Platonic solids, and also some of them represent Archimedean solids, i.e. mixtures of the Platonic solids like a cube octahedron. And you can see these are the examples. These were worked on and analysed by a master geometer called Keith Critchlow. And this is the famous Towie ball found in Aberdeenshire. This one again was found in Aberdeenshire with the beautiful carvings and 3D relief all over it. This is actually a Roman dodecahedron which was found in France. These are the ones that are on display at the Kelvington Museum. And you can see beautiful kind of grid patterns and things here. This one's six-sided. This is six. These are all six-sided ones, but you get different examples. Some of them are 7 and 8-sided, 14-sided. You have ones which have got 23 or 24 sides, and they're all fairly precise. Most of them, very precise, regular geometric spheres carved out of granite, even out of crystal. One of them, and different types of extremely tough rock. These are actually on display at the British Museum. But the thing is, these were found near the recumbent megalithic stone circles of Aberdeenshire, most of them, but not actually in the stone circles. They were always found in fields where they were starting to grow crops around 3000 to 3200 BC. And this suggests they were ceremonial, and they felt they were imbued with some kind of energy to help with the growing of the crops. Maybe. Just speculation, obviously. We don't really know. These were found at Loughrea in Ireland. These are iron. The left one's basically negatively magnetic ironstone. The one on the right is positively magnetic, which is granite. So this could be the reason they were using them, because they had different energetic qualities, and they could be either used for healing, even for massage, some people suggest, or even to place in the fields to manipulate the natural telluric currents, which I believe this is representation of, because telluric currents move like this through the landscape. This has been recorded scientifically by people like John Burke, Kaj Halberg, and Callahan and others. But even weirdly, it's really kind of got my attention, was when I was in South America, in Bolivia, in La Paz. There's huge amounts of archaeology that's been done around Lake Titicaca, and one of these was discovered around Lake Titicaca. Now this, I could not believe when I saw this. It utterly blew my mind. And you can just see the shape of this here. It's got 6 sides. It's like it's almost identical to about 8 of the ones that I've seen found in Aberdeenshire and in different parts of Scotland. Now I thought, well, actually, is it possible that Scottish people made their way to Tiwanaku and this particular area? And when I saw this carving, I thought perhaps they had, because these do look like kind of Caucasian, European-looking people. They don't necessarily look particularly Peruvian, in my opinion. They have a certain frown about them, which intrigued me. I'm looking into this as a reality because we're finding that it's potentially possible that a place like the Ness of Brodgar in Orkney is revealing that it was some kind of ancient megalithic university there. And it was in that area they did find some of the stone spheres. We have the Nap of Howard, where they potentially developed the megalithic yard, which is 2.72 feet, which is used in stone circles all across Britain and Europe. And also, they may have spread out from there, and there's evidence of grooved ware pottery, which was first developed up in Orkney, and it kind of spread around the country and potentially around the world. I'm just putting together, I haven't done enough research on it to present yet, but there is DNA evidence of haplogroup X found in South America from Europe, going back 13,000 years. And more modern times as well, about 5,000 years, so there could be a connection. And I believe there were great navigators in the ancient world coming from Britain. This is what intrigues me, is that this is the Amazon here. This is the entrance to the Amazon. It's not a very good photo, I apologise. It's just nicked from some kind of newspaper. But they found a stone circle with astronomical alignments marking the solstices. I could not believe it. At the entrance to the Amazon, which dates to about 2000, potentially 2000 BC. It's 127 granite blocks make it up. Now this really intrigued me, because if you follow the Amazon, you can make your way almost to the area of Lake Titicaca with a little bit of land travel as well. And this is some of the stones that are left at this site. Also down the Amazon, not only do we have giantesses and giants and red-haired tribes that have been recorded there, but then you found these geometric patterns we saw earlier, which reveal that the megalithic yard potentially and other measurement systems of ancient Britain may have been used there. There's even shapes like the flattened B circle, which Alexander Thom discovered when he was surveying stone circles in England, and so there could be examples. It does kind of put the idea in my mind that there may be something going on with that this is why you would find an Aberdeenshire stone sphere. But there are bigger stone spheres in Costa Rica These are the ones we briefly mentioned earlier. Mainly this area here, down in southwest Costa Rica, is me discovering a ball in someone's garden. Look at that face. But this was, I couldn't believe it. You just walk around these small towns called Palmaseo and Palma Norte, and there's another one called Golfito, and there's over 300 of these have been found. And just walking around, we found 30 or 40 of them. And you just have to look in people's gardens. They're outside Chinese restaurants. They're like just scattered around. They're in a university building. I mean, if you want to look at this thoroughly, when you start looking at them, there's I didn't put the image in, unfortunately, but there are spiral carvings on some of these as well. And there's traditions that they were like marbles of the gods. And they were like the games of the gods played these, but they're so abstract, and the placement in the landscape, it does tend to reveal that this was almost like some kind of art project all over Costa Rica. But I've got like 4 videos I've made of my travel down there, so if anyone wants to check them out, just check out the Megalithomania UK YouTube channel, and there's some more detail about them there. I've done a lecture entirely about that as well, which should be online soon. This is some examples from Easter Island. This is Tipito Cura. This is like supposed to be the center, the sacred axis point of Easter Island. And again, we have the sacred sphere surrounded by 4 other spheres. We have similar things here. This is in Sardinia. This is a sort of egg-shaped sphere, which has got cut marks all over it. And this is a ziggurat or a pyramid in Sardinia, which dates back to potentially 3,700 BC. Which no one knows about. It's just no one's ever heard of it. And we went there, and it's definitely there. This is not a hoax photograph. So that blew our minds, because we're looking at if it's a ziggurat, it's older than the ones in Sumeria, which are the famous ones. Sardinia is absolutely amazing, and we'll have a few more details about. I've been there twice in the last 6 months. It's so intriguing. Giants are being found there as well. But the pyramids and ziggurats, because these are found all over the place as well. This is a fantastic graphic put together by Simon Davis. He's a friend of mine who puts these together on Facebook. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This is the classic kind of ziggurats we find in Iran. Obviously the step pyramids of Memphis, Saqqara, and various ziggurat of and this is a whole dating thing, getting more modern as we go along, and the Mexican ones are the latest ones. But these ones here are really interesting. I mean, the Sardinian ones and the other ones I'm about to show you aren't even on here. They're so unknown, even Simon Davis doesn't know about them. But you can see that they're all over the world. So this is oh, I'm sorry, let's go back to that. So this just shows you the shape and size of the pyramid. The first phase of the pyramid goes back to about 4000 BC, and the main pyramid was completely constructed by 3650 BC. But you can see the steps, sort of shapes going up. You've got the long causeway, you've got men here, like a standing stone here. You've even got a dolmen type structure here, and down at the end you've got the famous egg stone. So this is the ziggurat of and you can see the same kind of step pyramid construction with the steps. These were actually found on Sicily. So there's actually black stone pyramids found on Sicily. That's just a view of it from above. And often under these pyramids, which is something we find all over the world, not only do you have structures built upon other structures, there always seems to be a water source underneath them. This is almost like an energy thing, where you get rushing water and the movement of water that creates electric charge, and these are collected in the pyramids and used to spread through the landscape for fertility and consciousness alteration. We find examples of Tenerife. I went here a few months ago just to check these out and to get some hot weather, because it was February and it was rubbish in England, and they're all over. There's like 3 or 4 examples of pyramids on Tenerife, and also they found 14-foot skeletons that are 80 teeth in the mouth, and other giants and mummies have been found on Tenerife. Now that is quite strange. This is one of the pyramids on Tenerife, and you can see it's like quite a complicated design. It's quite large. It's bigger than you think. I just put my drone up to get some shots of this, but you can't really get the contrast to see what's going on here. But it goes round here, and it goes round the back here. Some of it's been destroyed. I went up there and got some shots. This is a pyramid in Greece. Now this has been proven to date back to at least 3,500 BC. So this one in Greece and the one we saw in Sardinia are both older than all the pyramids in Egypt. and Mexico by a long way. So this is very strange, very, very strange. This is what it looks like today. We're going to be going here in a few months to check this out. And you can see it's made up of these huge stones. They're polygonal walls, cyclopean construction with archways, Mycenaean style, but thousands of years earlier. We even find pyramid constructions in North America. This is Cahokia. This is actually larger. The footprint of this is larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. And it's made of earth, but it's made of different types of earth. This is what it would have looked like with the mounds, the courtyards, and the different pyramids. It's so precise. This is that they were really into precision in North America. And these go back probably, I believe, at least to around 1500 to 2000 BC. I'm absolutely sure of it, although officially they're much younger. And there were giants here as well. Giant skeletons and giant artifacts have been found at Cahokia. Obviously, Tiwanaku is a pyramid complex, so is Pumapunku as another pyramid, and again in Bolivia. So and on top of this step pyramid, now this officially dates only to about 2,000 years old, but it's definitely much older, definitely. And it had this amazing pool of water, and the whole area is flanked by fault lines and magnetic currents and fluctuations. The whole pyramid is built on a massive magnetic anomaly. This has been proven now, and it had water flowing all the way through it, through these little sluice gates and like channels to create this electric charge. And we know why that was. It was to